Yeah, I mean, I always had somehow like a camera that was around me, and I think I was always like a very visual person. But also recently I was chatting with a friend and we discussed it from New York also, but I didn't grow up in the city, he grew up also in the kind of like a nature surroundings, so we kind of agreed both of us that I think maybe kids that grow up in a more natural surrounding, I think they have a tendency to maybe dream a little bit more than the kids from the city, because I think also when you're young you need to create these whole worlds that you are playing with, so I think there is a big part of my creativity that came actually from growing up in such a small, I think maybe like 600, 700 people little village in Croatia. And then it was the camera, and then with time it was just, I think people were always the most interesting to me because I think like when you point the camera towards a person, something like psychologically happens in them, and then they always become this kind of not an alter ego themselves, but they kind of switch into this persona that they have like a camera persona, and that was always like super interesting to me. And I think just with time I realized that like what they are wearing and how their maybe hair and makeup looks can also make this photograph go even further and can give me like a chance to actually kind of maybe create a whole narrative of where the person is and what they are doing and how they are doing it. And then it just became fashion photography, which was not maybe something that I would think of as, like first choice. And then I don't know, like first Vogue, I was really young because I was traveling a lot. I went to architecture and I quit after 1 year and my parents were like, okay, at this point, like you wanted to pay for your college, like to put you through, and now for 1 year, we put you through college, but you decided to quit, so now you're on your own, like we don't care, find a job, do whatever you want to do, this was your decision, and stuff like this, which was great for me because it really like pushed me to kind of start. And then I was just like little by little like traveling. I spent maybe like 2, 3 years just going around, Europe, like 6, 7 days in each city, in each country, and then go. And then 2019, I think I had like 130 flights, so it was like really intense, going everywhere. And I think I was 21 when I did my first Vogue magazine, and then after that, a lot of really nice things happened. And then I moved to London, and then after London was the pandemic, of course, so I came back. And then I think here also this shift changed because I was back in my village where I grew up. And then after that I moved to Paris. And the moment I came to Paris, I heard some buzz from some people that are in a more tech part of the industry of the arts. And somebody was mentioning this program that if you write some keywords inside, it can create some sort of a visual. And for me, for my brain was like, I was thinking about this for a few days, and then I really started like getting into it. And this friend sent me that was the first kind of version of DALI. That's the ChatGPT OpenAI kind of version of AI. There was also Midjourney and a lot of those, but there was something that I don't know, like they were not giving such a photographic feeling. And then I moved to Paris and I didn't leave my house. I was like, really nice area of Paris in Bastille in this rooftop, like really nice apartment. You see all the roofs of Paris. And I was just in my apartment, like, putting these words, like I didn't care about the outside world. Was a really weird period. And then just at one point, like I started generating more and more, and these people were completely weird. Eyes were like on the forehead, and the ears were missing, and there was some weird body dysmorphia, and some parts of the body begin, and the other parts start that become a tree, and there is a window. It was like everything that you put, and for me it was crazy because for sure what AI generated you are the owner of the art that you created, and also it it makes something that for sure was never before done, which for me was also something that was like, I don't know, like everything I thought I knew was just plus it creates four different scenarios of each scene that you are making. So for me all these combinations were, I was just like, my brain was just
throwing up in this screen like constantly and more and more and more and more. And then at one point, I just realized a lot of it was about America, or I don't know for what reason. I just like when I think I make like a maybe like a movie or some scene that I haven't seen. I don't know why I just went to America. So then I like put them all together and I started thinking, what what if I did something with this? What if it's an exhibition? But then an exhibition just didn't feel like it's something that really shows. So I decided I think it should be like a putopis. It's like a travel essay book in a way. And it needs to be a book because I think it's such an advanced, it was something that, that was the most advanced thing I've seen and was the user of. So I thought, okay, if it's something so advanced, I need to take it to the oldest possible medium that we can do. And I think that's a book. And then a travel book was interesting to me because with social media in today's time and with all the documentaries, whoever buys, a book that says, Louisiana or Canada, or you buy a book that says, Barcelona, we travel a lot, people, there is social media. If you want to see how Barcelona looks, you go to YouTube, you go to Instagram. So it's very rare that someone is interested how Barcelona looks and they will go to a bookstore and they will say, can I have one book about Barcelona? And then they will come home and then they will read about it. So I just think this medium was really interesting. And then I wanted to make it an analog book. So every one of the images that I created, they all had they finished with an analog photograph. So they would sometimes be 35 millimeter, which is the small roll that we all used when we were kids, and there is the big roll that is 120 millimeter. So every photo that was rendered inside of a book is actually an analog photograph. So at the end, it became like an analog travel book through America, where I'm 18, and I'm actually going on a 3-month trip through America, and my name is still Filip, and I'm still a photographer, and I'm basically documenting my trip that that I'm living as going through the States. And then what was really interesting for me is how much it was a perfect chance to do America because I've never been there in my entire life. Like I've never visited the States. But then like all of us, I know exactly like how their supermarkets work, how their schools look, what's the university like, what are, the fraternity and all this, how they get into these clans and how they have like these crazy rush hours and what they eat and what they drink and how New York looks like and how big cities and this Route 66 and how you need to use a car so much and Central America, Utah, Salt Lake City, all of these things. So I was like, I already feel like I've been there. So I was just in Paris, in one of the most beautiful cities in the world, and I was there for like a month, not leaving my apartment and just Googling like Salt Lake City and then just seeing how it looks like and then also going to the bookstores and buying these vintage 70s, 80s travel books through America, which also served as some kind of an inspiration. And I think, yeah, it was just like a perfect country to kind of give it this AI interpretation. And yeah, it's in 5 chapters, which I thought was like really important for me. Like I love to always do, and I think it felt also more like a movie and more like a book. There needs to be some kind of separations. So the first one is actually the voyage, and I'm taking a ship from Rijeka to New York because there is a fun fact that actually Rijeka had a direct line with New York, and a lot of like famous people that were going through Europe in New York. Some of them were like staying in Rijeka for 4 or 5 days, waiting for the ship. So actually, I have my own cabin, and I'm on the ship, and I'm spending 2 weeks on the ship traveling across the ocean and the whole first chapter is kind of handwritten because I also wanted the book not to just be a travel book as per se, but to also be this travel between this humanism to this post-humanism combined with artificial intelligence. So basically, the more we progress through the book, the more it becomes AI written, and the more I'm not hiding the imperfections of AI. So I think in the first 2 chapters, you can the photos are still a bit picked, the ones where the eye is not here. But then with time, as the book progresses, you have more and more of these glitches. So you are realizing that there is something in the book that is not actually a photograph, which was really funny because when I was showing in my village, these older retired people, I was showing them the book without any context, and they were going through it like it's a photo book completely, the first like 70% of the book. And then just at one point, they kind of flip the page and they're looking but they don't want to ask because I think for them it's such an abstract concept to even ask, is this something that's computer generated? Of course, they don't know. So like there are all these photographs. Oh, look, this girl, she's so pretty. She's blonde, Oh, look at this house in America, so nice. And they go, but then at one point they're like, someone's eyes have been plucked out, or they're like missing an arm, or they don't have a torso, and they're like looking through and they're like, oh, okay, cool. Like, they don't know how to react. So basically, this was kind of the thought of the book, of the bone, of the spine, what's going to be from the start to the end. And then the second chapter is the real kind of travel, which is where I decided to hide one idealized life in America. So basically, in the second chapter, we start in this primordial chord, and there is a little fetus in the water, and basically it ends up as a kind of these empty beds in the retirement home, which is kind of the end of the life. Like it starts with a beach and it goes through this idealized life. So all the characters that are put in the second chapter, they are by age, from the youngest to the oldest, which is a bit, impossible when you travel, but that's how I did it. And then the third chapter is called the Manifesto. And the Manifesto was, I read the Institution of America and all the human rights that are there. And I took out all the kind of things from the Constitution that just don't make sense in real life, like how all the people have that are the same before the law, but we all know in America it depends how good is your lawyer, and then some like a lot of stuff about medical care, and that culture is the highest form of progress in humanity, and we must protect it with everything that we can. I mean, in the countries where this is simply, not the case, sadly. And then what happens in the third chapter, there is like a kind of clap, and the book becomes a negative yin-yang version of itself. So it starts going like a mirror towards the start. So basically, chapter 4 is the mirror of chapter 2, which is the same life in America, but if it happens that it was a negative one in a way, it was not the idealized one. So there is a lot of drug use and pedophilia and, sex trafficking, sex industry, porno industry, suicide, homelessness, like a lot of things that are sadly, a big problem. Because also I think what we do today is because of the social media, when we travel, if you travel like a person that likes traveling a lot and you want to actually meet the place and the people that you are visiting, with time, that was for me Paris. You come there and everything is perfect, and it doesn't matter how sarcastic you are, you will take a picture of the Eiffel Tower first time you are there, even if you are the most, you will be like, aha, yeah, the Eiffel Tower, and you will take one photo. So this is how we take photographs today when we travel. But I think if you transcend that and you actually meet the people and you feel how the city or the country where you are breathes, you kind of learn the real situation, which is not always just the beautiful things. There is also like a lot of things that are happening there. So I just wanted to show that today's travel book, it should be more aware not to show just the beautiful things, but it also shows all the layers of the society that you are visiting. So that is basically the fourth chapter. And then the fifth is called Death. Is this completely kind of glitched letters. They are hardly readable. It's completely written by AI. And basically it's like the darkest kind of chapter. It starts with like your morning scene in America. You wake up, you have breakfast, and there is like a milk carton, and there is a portrait of a person that says it's missing. So basically that's how your morning starts, and the whole chapter is in a way the answer to, like, someone is missing, why are they missing? And then you have all the kind of that scenarios, satanic cults and everything that is kind of also sadly represented there. And then what's for me the most fun, actually, I think I have it here. what's for me the most fun is, I think that you will appreciate, is at the end, we finish with kind of like a funeral. But what for me is the most amazing part is this index. And again, what I wanted to do with this book is that if you don't know about the book, and it's actually a prop. I'm dealing it like a theater prop. So nowhere in the book it says that it's AI. And if you don't have the context of the book that I just told you, there is a big chance you will never know what the book was about, kind of in a way. So there is no AI, like no kind of explanation of the book in the book itself. The book itself is like a prop, And what I really like is super interesting is that at the end we have this index. I mean, it doesn't even say it's an index, but basically, it's an index with the words and all this book and all the visuals that are inside of it and everything that you see, everything that exists in this book was just made with these words. So these words, I don't know how many, like even not that many, I don't know. They created this whole book. So everything that you see in this book was just these words. No camera, nothing. Just a computer, one website that you had access to, and these words. And they created all this. That was crazy for me. And then we also did, which was really fun, we gave AI to kind of imagine us, how we look. So basically, this is me, because we just gave the AI our kind of biographies without the year of the birth. So then AI kind of imagined the whole team, uh, what they could look like. So that was super fun. And then also, every American book, they have this type of, reviews that says like an absolute gem, a gripping expose that peels back the layers of America. So this was more like a bit of a joke, like internally for us. But we created like 5 newspapers that don't exist, and then 5 kind of reviews on the book. And yeah, that's the book you've probably seen. And I think what's really also interesting is that so the book itself, it's kind of inspired by the Bible. So they had this really nice canvas print. But then I thought, there needs to be something. It cannot just be. So I thought, why not the book to be kind of have a green card? So basically, if you want to open the book and if you want to start traveling, to this America, you need a document. And then document can be a green card. So there is like a real kind of card stuck inside of the book. And then what was really fun for me is that I wanted to change the name of the person and their portrait, but then AI doesn't have the concept that it needs to be one person, kind of. So what it did this full kind of Asian looking family and gave them like a family green card so they can all use it together for their travels, which I thought was really fun. And that would shortly mostly be it.
Can you hear me? Yes. Well, thank you very much. It was really enjoyable to listen to you. This is exactly what I thought. Your generation, or maybe you as artist, just started to do something completely new. I have a feeling with such a ease, so easy. You probably needed some time maybe to find out the way through the software. Software is not maybe so complicated, but as an artist, you succeeded to do something still creative, very playful maybe, and still with a lot of meaning. So which means using artificial intelligence in your case as artist or as photographer became a tool to make artist book with a lot of connotations, a lot of ideas that you gave us. That's what I feel. I don't know how others are feeling. It's not really a question, but it's my observation. Would like to add something, or would you like to add something?
I think what you said, it's also a bit about the generation. I think today, I think we are closer and closer to, just having this flow that if you have an idea, it can be materialized a lot faster. It can be materialized a lot faster than it was before. Like before you have a painting and there's probably going to, if it's like a big, nice one that you thought a lot about, there's probably going to be like 6 months to, maybe 1-2 years until you finish it. So an idea that you had a year ago, you will probably see then. So I think we are just closer to this singularity. And I mean, it was not also easy, like it was impossible to find a publisher for this book, so I had to like self-publish, which was, I never like printing today and paper, and if you want it done nice, it's like crazy. But also I knew it was kind of a book for the future, so I really wanted to do it because it was really the start of this AI generative photography kind of art. And I see now bookstores are like getting more and more to me because now they are just realizing what it is. So I think but what you said about the generations, I think that your generations, I mean, I'm like generalizing, of course, but I think I still believe in this AI. I think we have so many problems that we cannot grasp with our head, the numbers and the solutions that are needed to take care of a lot of things. Like I come from a fashion industry, so when we say that there is, I don't know, 300 tons of clothes being dropped somewhere, I don't know exactly, but let's say like weekly, whatever. For me, I cannot imagine what's 300 tons of clothes. Is it like one building? Is it a block? Is it a small house? Like, so for us, I think the problems have become so huge that we just need this type of huge brains to kind of help us solve it. And I think we are a generation that doesn't think that we need to suffer to get things. I think that's maybe a bit more also from before. So I think if it's easy, we don't need to run away from it. It just depends how we use it. It's all the context. It's all about the context. It just depends what you give it.
Yes,
Yeah.
but I would like to add something very important here, especially from the symposium. This is aesthetics. Are you aware that your aesthetics here are bringing some completely new aesthetics that maybe before it was not acceptable in an artist world, because the distortion of reality that you have used by software of artificial intelligence is bringing a new aesthetic. Is this aesthetics or is this something else? Maybe that's a question for some of you who are not you. Yes, please.
I can say mine, and then someone can say. I think that's the fun part, because the algorithm was made to study everything that we as humans ever thought aesthetically pleasing, and is giving it new ways. So for me, it was crazy that every one of these images that you put in some kind of Fibonacci sequence, or you see how it's cut in what shapes, there is always some geometry that is like a painting quality inside of them. So for me, that was even like an extra. I mean, it feels so wrong saying it, but it was even like an extra thing that it's crazy.
We didn't see your fashion photography. Is your fashion photography, I don't talk about myself, but here as a public, is your fashion photography also searching for certain distortions or certain, so which means...
Yeah, there was always this characteristic, and what was with my colleagues that are in the industry as well, and when the book came out, and also photographers and also AI artists, like a lot of them, what really meant to me a lot was one of the, like for me as a photographer, was they were like, we completely see you in every page. And that's very hard to maintain today, because, it's AI, it does a lot of things. It can be a woman in a red dress in Paris, of course. But I think what was really important for me is that it really looks like I took the photographs. And then it also I started thinking about photography, what makes you a photographer? Like why do you take photos? Who are you as a photographer? So at the end, it's again just the context. It's the people that you put in some kind of context in front of your camera. So if you can transcend this into AI, you are still the same source of, yeah.
Anybody else have an opinion? Yes, please. Can you come here, please, because our battery here, unfortunately, so we cannot use this.
Thank you for your nice presentation. I like your approach. I have a question. Do you see then with this book project more as a curator rather than an artist who makes something, but you see yourself more as a curator who selects images and formats them and, puts them together in a certain kind of choreography? Would you call yourself more in this, or at least with this book? Maybe not everywhere, but
I
just
think
with
with this book you even do it perhaps more than a photographer, because with photography you still kind of document always in a way. I mean, you still put people, but for example here you can say, you know, a group of people from a fraternity took, I don't know, like a small wooden table in front of their Kappa Gamma house, and they put one pledge on the table and they are smudging cake all over him. So for me, it's like you can get into like very specific situations that I think you are more than just curating. I think you are like rendering new realities in a way, like new situations that did or did not happen sometimes.
Okay, thank you.
Well, I would. Anybody else? When not, we can. Oh, yeah, please, welcome. We have enough time because I made strange time. We have till 1 o'clock, and you have
Yes, fascinating to learn how AI just becomes part of creative culture, and it can be fun, and it can be creative, and it can be even self-ironical. On the one hand, I don't know, but as a young boy, when you had this photo camera, you still had an idea how this photo camera works, I suppose, or did you just use it? And nowadays, do you care at all to see how AI comes to its proposals, or is it just doesn't matter? Is it because this is an intellectual question. This is a proprietary software, Midjourney or others. I mean, this is big companies who own the data, and they employ the mathematicians, and they have all this heavy software. And what is happening inside the AI mechanism which you use? You don't care about to know the tool which you are using? Because most painters still know how to do oil painting and what the linen is, or even early media artists, video artists, they knew the electronics, how a video camera works, and how you change colors and produce surrealistic images. Now the new surrealism, and it's surrealistic, Dali-like glitches which are produced by AI. Is it you don't care anymore what is the reason how it does it?
If when we were washing our clothes next to the river, you know, with the soap, we also knew how they are getting washed. But I think a lot of people today don't really know how the washing machine actually works inside, and they could not probably rebuild it or something like this. I mean, at the start, I was more interested in the technical part, and I was, of course, researching how this comes to be and how it is sourcing images and, you know, borrowing little kind of fragments from images and how it is morphing them together. But I think with time, you know, honestly, I was just using like a phone, like a digital camera also. I mean, analog camera, I knew how it works. I still know today. I can open it and I can put everything back inside how it is. Yeah. But with the chip camera also, I know in theory, but I would have no idea how to program a chip of a modern mirrorless camera or something like this. So I think... you are correct. At the start, I was more interested than I am now.
Mm-hmm. So I think Ingeborg Philipp was right with her diagnosis that a new generation growing up with a smartphone, where the interface of the smartphone is as big as the smartphone itself, that there is something inside, that there is technology inside, that there is mathematics inside, and all those things that people are not even aware that it's a computer that they are using. It's not a phone. Or it's not a, so that's interesting to see how the relation to technology has shifted, and it's different from the generations before who wanted transparency, critical transparency, had the economics behind, the technological ownership behind. This was all critical questions. Now the new generation is at ease with it. Technology recedes, becomes something as if it was natural, and you use it in a creative way. I think this is an interesting and dramatic shift which takes place. Whether it's critically okay or politically, that's another. Because I think the European mind always wanted to know, to have transparency. And this is, with AI, transparency is completely lost. Almost nobody knows, not even like the washing machine. It's good that you mention it. Your generation before a Gorenje washing machine in Croatia or Slovenia, you knew how to repair it. I mean, I'm driving, I came here with my old car, which is an analog old car, 30 years old, a lot of breakdowns. But if something goes wrong, I know what is going wrong. And I can even try to repair it. Now with the highly electronic cars, which are basically software, even the mechanics don't know exactly. They are not under control anymore. But this desire to know it, to open it, to have it transparent, this has changed. 20th century wanted to critically make it critically transparent, and maybe 21st century just uses it. Well, I have to think about it. Thank you.
No, but I understand what you're saying because I had that transition. You know, I grew up without a computer, I grew up without a phone, I grew up without the internet. So for me, it was all of these things I had in my early childhood, and the first phone I got when I was, I don't know, like, it was later, like maybe in the 4th grade, so I was like 14, you know. So all of my early childhood, I was opening things I was using. I had maybe like a Nintendo that I could use for 1 hour on the, you know, I had this life as well, and when the first computers came, all the programs, I was cracking them, I knew how to get into the programming, but on my MacBook, I don't know what was the last time I went into stuff, you know. I think it's becoming more intuitive. We just use things, and there is like a pathway that's leading us through technology, and on the side of the people that are not professionals, of course.
Okay, I would like to now have another speaker, but before you are still here, till you are still here, I just would like to tell you, I would be very happy if you find a chance until end of the next week, one of your huge traveling, to travel physically to visit us in Cortil Gallery and see your works and works of other artists. So think about that. Maybe you will have a chance to come. Thank you very much. Yes, and thank you very much that you participated with us. And I wish you future with both analog and artificial. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, and stay with us, please. We are continuing. Just we will. Be, yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.